What is going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of the How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how to at a time. This week is going to be the second video in the series of how to build sweat equity, where basically I talk about different ideas that you can do to make your house a little more custom, a little more you, or just a little more functional for you and your family. And so we're going to talk about a project that my wife and I tackled a couple of months ago. And what we did is we took our island that was original to the house and we extended it so that it was more functional for our family, but also made it look and feel a little better and made it go a little bit more toward what we wanted for the house. And so I'm going to switch over to Zoom so that I can start to show pictures that go along with the things I'll be talking about. And I will do my best to count out, how many hours things took or how much we spent on different parts of the project as we go through the pictures, so that you can get an idea. If this is a project that you may be interested in, you can determine if it's worth the time and money on your end. So let's switch over to Zoom and we'll get started. All right, so this is our kitchen before we started the island project. The island itself is really just a base cabinet that has two doors on the other side of it. You'll see those in a minute. And it also had basic countertops that are laminate with a coating on them to make them look like they're some sort of stone. And next to the island, we have a mini fridge that Ashley's parents bought for us a number of Christmases ago. And so functionally, this is what we had to start with. It sat two people, and the mini fridge was just sort of on the end as a cap, and it worked for what it was, but we thought that we could make it better. So we started to brainstorm how we could make this island a little bigger and really take advantage of the fact that it's in the center of the room. That's really the heart of our house. The kitchen and the living room is right behind us here. And so you'll see in the right corner of this picture, there is a single light fixture that ended up being removed. I think the original thought might have been to have a little coffee table or a small kitchen table in that area. But what we did instead really opened up the walkways on both sides of the kitchen. So let's keep moving through. So the first thing that we did is we decided that we were going to switch the countertops, and through doing some research, we landed on buying some butcher block that was off the shelf at Menards. The pieces were 36 by 74, 36 by 76, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so these cost, if I remember correctly, $199 a piece, and we ended up needing two of them. You'll see why in a little bit. So what we have here is a butcher block countertop that extends beyond the entirety of the existing island, but also has enough overhang that it covers the mini fridge that's there already. And so we thought that we wanted to keep the mini fridge as a part of this island. Hopefully, the mini fridge will get us a couple of more years, but in the event that it ever goes out, generally speaking, these fridge styles are all about the same size, so we can hopefully place a new one in there if the time would come. So that's about it for this picture. We've got Lola in the corner. Everybody loves Lola, and so she's 2 for 2 on making appearances in the How to Build Sweat Equity series. So good for her. So the next step to this was taking the second piece of butcher block that we bought and cutting it down to size so that we could create a waterfall edge. And so we had to prop up that massive overhang on the far right side of the previous picture. So this is in my garage. We just took one of those pieces of butcher block and we cut it down to size. It's really important here that you get something to use as a straight edge to make sure that you're lining this cut up, because the piece of wood's $200 and you only get one shot at it, so don't mess it up. So once we did that, we took the mini fridge and we turned it around so that it was more functional to the inside area of the kitchen. And we took that second piece of butcher block and we dropped it downward toward the floor. And we've got a whole bunch of books that Ashley will tell you that she's read that she has not read yet, that are holding it into place temporarily so that the wood doesn't warp upward. what we did to connect those two pieces were on the inside, we took L brackets and we secured on both sides. I think there are 4 of them across the 36 inches spaced evenly so that the piece that's vertical and the piece that are horizontal will stay together. And for the most part, the weight of these materials held them into place pretty well, and that gave us enough time to secure them properly. The butcher block countertop is secured to the existing kitchen island the same way that the previous counter was. There's screws that are drilled directly into the top there. So looking at it from the other side, we're now showing the back of the fridge, and we're showing the existing cover piece of the existing the existing cabinet, and how this starts to look on the inside of the outside of the kitchen looking inward. So we're creating that waterfall edge, and what we've really done here is given ourselves enough room to sit 3 people at the island now, since we are now a family of 3. So continuing onward, we took and decided what we were going to do with the finished material here. Ashley's done a lot of DIY projects also, so we had stain left over in the house from these types of projects. We chose Early American as the stain to cover up all of the butcher block wood that you'll see, but we used the leftover piece from the second piece of wood to test it, just to make sure that we were doing what we liked, so that we didn't have to backtrack any there. So Ashley did all the staining, and it turned out really well. This is a little bit out of context for the order in which the pictures happened, but once the stain came in, we were able to put everything back together, and at that point, we started to screw the 2 pieces of butcher block down to one another. And so once we finished that, we had a mess on our hands visually in terms of how we were going to finish this outside edge of the new island. And so we pulled a chip in Joanna Gaines, and as oddly as it sounds, we really like the idea of putting some shiplap in the kitchen. And so hopefully that nobody makes fun of us too bad about this. So the way that we did this is we took a furring strip, which is basically a very thin piece of wood, and we added it to the inside of the butcher block that's running vertical. And I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse as I move it, but basically right inside the far right edge of the shiplap, we added a vertical piece of wood so that I can nail the shiplap into something on the right edge, because I can nail the shiplap into the cabinet on the left edge and the center edge. So in doing this process, we also removed the covering from the back of the original cabinet so that everything would remain flush. And so once we finish that part of the process off, this is what we're looking like on the front end. We've left some space between the bottom of the countertop and the top of the mini fridge so that appliance can still vent itself properly, and there's been no issue with that so far. And on the other side, once we put the rest of the pieces of the shiplap in and we put a few thin pieces of trim along the edges, the finished product is something that we're really happy with. And so if we look at this project in its entirety, we've got about $400 into the butcher block pieces, and then we're maybe roughly $75 into the shiplap, maybe another $20 into the trim. So for less than $500, we ended up taking the existing kitchen island and extending it and making it feel a little bit more like it's ours and something that we would have created had we bought the house and had these design decisions originally. But since we didn't, we're piecing it together one step at a time. And so again, we've got about $500 in the project, and in terms of labor hours, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 8 to 12 hours doing all of this. And that was taking our time doing it on nights and weekends, just as we go along. So this is what it looks like from the other end, and this is where we finished, where it looks today. And it was just a fun project for us to be able to extend our island, to make it a little more functional and to make it work better for our house. So I'll go ahead and switch back over to just me talking now. that is going to bring this episode of the show to a close. Hopefully you didn't get bored out of your mind by the fact that I'm not the greatest carpenter, but we still managed to make it look pretty cool, and I know that we're happy with it. So hopefully if this is an idea of something that you might be interested in doing, you can replicate it and put your own creative spin on it to make it a project that works for your house. So if you got any value out of this video, hit the like button so that the YouTube algorithm will know that this is a video that is good for other people to watch as well. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and you'll be the first to know about new videos that come out each and every Wednesday. And if you have a comment on this video or an idea for a future topic on the show or a future guest on the show, please leave a comment and I'll read and respond to all of those as they come in. I really enjoy doing that. So until next time, this is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.